Tundra presents The Mayor Helps with the Mayor of Victoria, British Columbia, Lisa Helps. Have your say. Send your questions and comments to themayorhelps.com. They could be included in next week's
Victoria
show.
Businesses to know that we're working.
And now, here's your host from beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, Dave Hatt.
Well, welcome to the Mayor Helps. My name is Dave Hatt, and I'm here with Mayor Lisa Helps of Victoria, BC. Good morning, Mayor. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Dave. Good morning.
So today I wanted to ask you what you're hearing about the actual impact of COVID on people, because there's a lot of confusing information that's out there, because it started off, it seemed like we were talking about flattening the curve. And it seems like the goalpost hasn't been reinforced. So what are you hearing from a government level in terms of how we're moving forward with it? Because I know there are businesses that just flat out are not recovering, which has an impact on people's financial health, but also on their mental well-being. And also there's students that are not going back to university that are impacted in their careers. So it's obviously has this broad impact for everybody across every industry. Just wanted to know right now, today, which is middle of September 2020, what are we looking at in terms of the goalposts for the COVID?
It's a really good question. Let's start with mental health and well-being. I was in a meeting yesterday, and the statistic flew out of the person's mouth so quickly that I'm not sure that I grabbed it as well as I could have. I think she was referring to British Columbia, but it could have been Canada-wide statistics, so I don't know. But kind of pre-COVID, 1 in 5 people were identified as experiencing some kind of mental health, mental wellness, mental stress, whatever you want to call it. And now it's gone down to 1 in 3. So 1 in 3 people, either in British Columbia or Canada, apparently, sorry, I can't remember which, but those numbers are shocking. So if 1 in 3 people in our communities, in our businesses, in our families, in our workplaces are experiencing some form of mental anxiety, stress, that's got to wake us up as levels of government, as community members, as businesses. And I think we've got to ask, what can we do to better support each other? In the early days of COVID, I did a daily Facebook Live, and every day at the end of the address, I shared something that someone in the community was doing to help someone else out, whether it was, seniors serving seniors, youth helping seniors get groceries, whatever. Like, there's so many creative ideas, really a sense of support. And I don't want to say that that's fallen off, but I think people have probably become a bit tired because it's probably gone on for a bit longer than anyone anticipated. So yeah, that's my biggest concern, with parents sending their kids to school, some for the first time, right? Kids starting kindergarten with all the uncertainty, like there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and that's starting to wear on people, and there's really no end in sight. So my question to all of us is, how can we grapple with that?
That's in speaking with small business owners, with friends, with family. That's just it. It's what are we doing to move forward? Because when we talked about at the outset, let's flatten the curve. We didn't want to overwhelm the healthcare system. And then looking at, I've seen some things online. It appears to be. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an economist. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy. But you see some of these people that are putting comparison charts out to how this virus is reacting to other viruses. And it seems like it's fairly predictable, although I am naive in saying that. It seems like it's a challenging thing, because to think that the CERB is over, rent relief support for commercial outfits is over for small businesses. That's done. There's still wage subsidy help from the federal government, but it certainly isn't something we can continue on. Whether you're a fan of capitalism or not, our current system can't continue to support everybody ad infinitum. It just can't happen. So I'm sitting in an unknown. It sounds like you're sitting in an unknown. It's going to be really fascinating to see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, and I think, a number of things that are different now than they were in March. If we had probably, speaking for British Columbia, I can't speak to what's happening in other provinces, but if Dr. Henry had seen the curve going up back in March or even April and May, as she does now, we'd probably be back in phase 2. But because there are measures in place, physical distancing, workplace safety measures, masks, all of those things, I think we're pretty lucky that we can continue, in the state we're in right now, which is, in BC phase 3, even though the caseload continues to climb. So I think there's the medical concern of COVID and what that means, and the impacts it has particularly on older people. And I think the thing, and as lay people, as non-medical professionals, there's not much we can do about that except wash our hands, keep our distances, those kinds of things. But I think what we need to turn our minds to as business owners, as local government leaders, and just as regular community members is, what can we do in our own capacity, whether it's as a neighbor or a business owner or a teacher or a mayor? What can we do to ease some of that stress that people are feeling in their daily lives? And, it might be something small like, bringing a hardworking teacher who's really stressed out a series of meals for the week. So when they get home from that stressful classroom and all those unknowns, they don't have to make dinner, right? That seems like such a small thing, but I think it was those small things that really sent strong signals early in the pandemic. And I think, that's, we need to think about that as individuals and business owners and community leaders.
Yeah, I think those are good thoughts and good areas on which to focus, because there certainly is a lot of information out there, and it's hard to tell, because we don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. There's clearly science that can predict what happens when people get sick. But in terms of bringing back the economy, obviously that's the dance, right? That's the dance that government is doing on our behalf. And it's very interesting just to see how this is playing out. But yeah, those are great ideas. I'm fully in the camp right now that says that teachers should get paid a ton more money than they're getting paid. And because, they've come out and they've done, gone way above and beyond. And to see how my son is in grade 11, and to see what they've done, I think he's actually academically, anyway, not socially, but academically, going to have a better year now than he would have had it just been sort of the regular school year.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and also teachers and the back to school is a key part of the economy. And one of the things we're seeing downtown is, and not just in Victoria, but across the country, particularly in government towns, but maybe everywhere, is not as many office workers coming back down into the core of the city as we would have expected. And part of that, I think, is waiting to see how does back to school go. Can I really go back to work, or is my kid going to be home? Because the back to school doesn't go well. So I think, teachers have done an enormous amount of work in the classroom providing for students, but, in a sense, they also provide childcare so people can go to work.
That's true. Well, thanks for that. And we'll catch you on the other side. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Helps.
Yeah. See you then and there.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And now, Mayor Lisa Helps sits down with this week's special guest.
Well, welcome back to the Mayor Helps. Today we've got a special guest, Evan Salters, the CEO of Métis Financial Corporation of BC. And prior to his work in Kelowna at Métis Financial Corporation, he was part of the Métis Voyager Development Fund in Ottawa. Good morning, Evan. How you doing?
Very good, Dave. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Thanks for being a part of this. It's interesting because we have a full disclosure. We've done business on a personal level because my wife Cindy is Métis, and she went through the process of getting her Métis card. She was her family is related to the Nolans in Ontario. She's from Sault Ste. Marie, so my kids are card-carrying members of the Métis Nation, and I found it interesting how things have developed and what she's had to go through. And I was wondering if you maybe could take a minute or two and explain what it is to be Métis in Canada, because I know it's something, well, I shouldn't say I know, when I speak to people in the States, they don't even understand the word Métis. So maybe you could touch a little bit upon what it is to be Métis.
I think the Métis in Canada are are still fighting for some of the rights, and especially in BC. But I think that they have a a niche in the Indigenous community that's recognized by the Supreme Court, and I do believe that they are that recognition has helped propel things forward for the Métis in Canada, and I think that our creation is almost part of that as well, because BC, before we started up here in BC as the Métis Financial Corp of BC, there was no Métis specific organization where an entrepreneur could go and try and get assistance. So it's I think it's something that's developing, and something that is currently great for the Métis, that there's, I believe, more services and more things available for help and assistance.
Why is it important to make that distinction between Métis and other First Nations parts of the community?
Well, I think that the Métis is a mix of First Nations and I would say colonial blood, and typically there was historically sort of a separate community. Some of it maybe around the voyageurs. There was obviously a large group in Manitoba with Louis Riel. So I think that there is for sure a difference from the First Nations, but also a separation from the rest of Canada as well, culturally.
Evan, I want to bust in and ask you about the Métis Financial Corp. I'm gonna kind of bombard you with a whole series of questions because I've got a lot. So tell us what does the Financial Corp do, and then what are the prospects for Métis entrepreneurs? Pre-COVID, in COVID, post-COVID. Is the sector going to grow in British Columbia? What kinds of businesses are Métis entrepreneurs starting? All those kinds of things. I'm really curious about this.
I think that typically there's give or take around 100,000 Métis in BC, and Métis have a fairly high percentage of population who's actually entrepreneurs. So there's my guesstimate based on what different studies which they've shown as to the number of or the percentage of owners that are Métis, it's about 15%. So that would mean, give or take, there's 15,000 Métis businesses in BC. It's probably hard to pinpoint, but that's the ballpark I sort of keep in my head. What we can do for the Métis entrepreneurs is that we can provide funding for expansion, startup, or to purchase another business. The business has to be Métis owned and controlled at the end of the day for us to be able to fund it or to assist it. And that assistance was available pre-COVID and is still available now. But with COVID, there's been an additional layer of support that we can give that the federal government has sort of pushed down to us to help them deliver this assistance. So right now we can give $40,000 loans to a Métis business that qualifies, and 10,000 of that 40 is grants. The 40K is a maximum, but we try and help as many businesses as we can. And that's actually it's kind of sad to say because COVID is not a good news story, but for us it's been great that we've been able to help so many businesses. At this point, we're encroaching around 150 businesses that we've helped just with the COVID loans. And then there's additional help coming down the pipe as well for COVID. We're going to be able to help micro businesses, community-owned businesses as well. That's coming in the next few weeks. And then, COVID is not been a good news story for anybody, but it makes us feel good that we can at least help people out during these hard times.
You said, Métis are distinct from the rest of Canada and also distinct from First Nations. So in the work that you do with companies, are there kind of distinct characteristics of Métis-led companies or distinct areas of the economy that they're pushing into or growing? Just really, curious about that. How does what's the relationship between kind of cultural identity and the kinds of companies and services and jobs that Métis are creating?
You know, it's interesting that I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and it's amazing that, you know, almost any business you can think of, you know, someone is going to start. There doesn't seem to be a, you know, a cultural sort of, I guess, bias towards a certain type of industry. They're definitely, you know, maybe more cultural based industry, but most of them are just the whole gamut of industry. Whatever you can think of, people are doing it. And actually, what I seem to find is that even things I never think of, there's always new types of businesses for new industries and new jobs creation that people are doing. It's amazing the imagination people really have.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And then with corporations like yourselves to support them, you know, anything is possible. That's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in your previous life, you know, in Ottawa, you spent, I believe, from looking at the website, quite a bit of your time with one foot in the government world and one foot in the entrepreneur world. What do you feel is the most important aspect that you bring, or the most important thing you can bring to the government on behalf of entrepreneurs? What are business owners saying that they need from the government, and how are you able to bridge that gap?
Well, I think that you know, there's a bunch of different things that I think they need, and I think it's, you know, often it's money, right? They don't have the money. They have the idea. They might have, you know, a basis to start the business, but maybe not the money to bring it forward. Potentially, they may not have the equity they need, and they may not even have some of the support requirements that are around to develop a business plan, to even understand, you know, what the best route is for the business. So, you know, what we can do is we can help, you know, fund a business plan to sort of, you know, I guess, validate and to sort of, you know, concentrate all their ideas into one spot, and that we provide 75% of the funding for a business plan. We can, you know, provide funding for, you know, whatever the purchase may be. If they want to buy a company, it could be land, it could be just assets, it could be anything really. And then also what we can do is, you know, provide funding for, you know, startup costs and inventory purchases, or whatever the case they may need, or equipment. So, you know, we try and be flexible in what we can do, because the reality is that the entrepreneurs needs kind of almost depend on the businesses that they're creating. So I'll find that, you know, some entrepreneurs need one type of help, another one needs a different type of help, or so it's great that we can be flexible and provide as much assistance as possible. And the COVID loans are, you know, are part of that equation for sure.
Now, clearly, you're talking a lot about the federal level. What about municipally? What are some of the things, maybe in closing, out of respect for your time, because you're going to have to split, what are some of the things, because we are speaking with a mayor, that municipally smaller governments can help bring to the table for entrepreneurs that you hear, and in your opinion?
I think that I think that the best thing that maybe the, you know, smaller, you know, local governments could do would be just awareness. You know, the awareness that there is help out there, and sort of to help get the message out. I'm not sure if, you know, I'm not, you know, in my experience, I'm not sure that there's been any sort of direct relationship or an assistance between, you know, Métis cattle corporations and a local government. But I do believe, obviously, you know, in every location, there's going to be Métis businesses. So any assistance to help get the message out is a great thing for us, a great thing for entrepreneurs, and it's obviously going to help, you know, the citizens of whatever municipality we're in, and, you know, in this case, Victoria.
Yeah, that's great. On that note, actually, Evan, if you don't mind, or Dave, maybe you can connect us. We've got a business hub at City Hall, and we've got a huge list of resources online. And I don't know that we've got Capital Corp on there. So it'd be great to have you listed for Métis entrepreneurs in Victoria as a source of financing.
That would be great. And
Yeah.
because we're new and we're still getting our name out there. And so any help that you can provide is going to provide help to other people. So that's a great thing. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet. I'll connect you with our business ambassador and you can give her all the info. We'll get it up on our site.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Okay.
I'll take care of the emails after this Zoom meeting. Thank you so much for your time, Evan. I really appreciate it. It's been great chatting with you via Zoom.
Guys, have a great day, and thank you again for having me on.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, cheers to you.
Bye.
If you enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe. And visit themayorhelps.com to submit your questions to the show.